Welcome to the Turkey Hunter Podcast with me, your host, Andy Galliano. In this podcast, I share with turkey hunters just like you how to have more turkeys on your hunting property and how to have more successful turkey hunts. I teach you how to do this with tips and interviews with turkey hunting pros, wildlife management tips, and entertaining turkey hunting stories. Tune in weekly as I share proven and simple strategies to help you have more success this turkey season. Make sure to head over to www.iamturkeyhunting.com to subscribe to receive free turkey hunting tips, tactics, strategies, and product reviews. Also, please visit and like my Facebook fan page. Go to Facebook and search I Am Turkey Hunting, and also feel free to post your turkey hunting photos from this past season and let us know where and when you killed your bird. For all of you Twitter users out there, please follow me on Twitter, where my handle is @TurkeyHitman, and I will be sure to follow you back. And now, for this week's show. Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of the Turkey Hunter Podcast. You are listening to episode 94, Planning the 2017 Spring Turkey Hunting Trip, Part 2. You didn't know I could speak French, did you? I am your host, and the guy who every year, at least once a year, gains a renewed respect for our farmers. After spending about 8 hours on the tractor over the weekend, I was sore in places that I didn't know I could be sore, like above my ankles, I guess from pressing the clutch in that 1964 model Massey Ferguson. So I'm sure that the large majority of the farmers out there have a lot better equipment than I have to use, but my hat's off to you guys and gals that keep us fed. Thank you very much for what you do. It's a tough job and you don't get enough respect. So, today, we are 216 days, 16 hours, 1 minute, and 15 seconds away from opening day of spring turkey season in Alabama. So that's roughly 7 months. It's going to go by pretty quick. School has already started back in my neck of the woods, and my year usually goes like this. Once school starts back, football season starts shortly thereafter. Football season never lasts long enough, so it'll be over very soon. But in the meantime, we have Christmas and New Year's, and once football season ends, it's not long after that we have the NWTF convention in Nashville, and it's not long after that we have turkey season opening up in Alabama. So it will get here quickly. Now, before I get into today's show, I want to read a review from Shine Taylor. How cool of a name is that? S-H-I-N-E, Shine Taylor. And Shine left a 5-star rating and a review on iTunes. Shine's review says, 5 stars, learning something every episode. As a biologist, I appreciate all the discussion on why these crazy birds act the way they do. I get a lot of windshield time with my job and learning about hunting this new species on the road. And Shine says in parentheses, just got huntable bird populations on our property over the last few years. That's awesome. Led me to take 2 eastern gobblers this season. I've killed others with help, but this year I was able to do some guiding, teaching, calling, and called the shots, so to speak, on a few hunts. I think I've listened to all the back episodes and will re-listen to some of them in the future. Keep up the great work. Love learning about why a turkey is a turkey. Sean, thank you very much for taking the time to leave that review on iTunes. It is much appreciated. And speaking of appreciation, last week at the end of the show, I asked you guys to forward, like, and share last week's episode on social media. And several of you did that for me, and I greatly appreciate that, and I want to publicly thank a few of you guys for doing that. So, Corey New, and Alan Howell, James Falconer, Howard Shekels, Jason Smith, Chris Hansen, Mitch Clifton, Alex Stott, Matt Allen, Bob Smith, Jason Wilkerson, RBK Outdoors, Jeremy Stoudenmeyer, and Owen the Zombie Wolf. Thank you guys so much for liking the show on Facebook and Twitter, and for retweeting last week's show as well, which some of you did. I really do appreciate that. You know that I have not advertised the Turkey Hunter podcast, but every year so far, the number of downloads of the show continue to grow. And I'm very thankful to you guys that share this show with your friends and family on social media. You are the reason for the growth of the show, and I am indebted to you for that. Many, many thanks. So let's get into this week's show. And in this week's show, I'm going to continue with the planning of my 2017 out-of-state turkey hunt. If you have a desire to travel to another state next season to turkey hunt, even if it's just a neighboring state, then I do recommend you get started preparing and planning for that trip now, if you haven't already started. Sometimes planning these out-of-state trips gets a little tricky because you have to decide on an area to hunt before you know when you'll hunt or even if you'll get to hunt that state. That is part of the challenge with this year's out-of-state trip because the boys and I have big aspirations. Maybe I should say we had big aspirations of hunting in 4 states this year. But in a conference call that we had this week, we cut that list down to 2, maybe 3 states because of limitations of time and funds that we each have. Now, I'm going to play part of that call for you because I think that the call can be helpful if you plan on taking a trip out of state in the near future. So here's part of that call for you guys right now, and I'll see you guys on the other side. We need to have a little conversation about what we're going to do this coming spring because we got to put in applications here in a couple of months at a couple of spots.
All right. So you've done some homework.
I've been homeworking. I tried to call John and didn't get a response. I'll try him again here real quick, and then we'll just, if he doesn't answer, we'll just make him do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. All right.
So let me see if I can get him.
I don't know how in the world you even get 3 people on the phone, much less 4. Jeez.
Please say you recorded that part, Andy.
Yes, it is recorded.
Perfect.
Oh, Lord.
So, really, the main thing that we need to discuss is: are we going to be able to handle the amount of time and the amount of money that it's going to take to do 4 states this year?
What did we figure if we left on a Friday and would come back on the following Saturday? Is that what we figured?
Well,
that ain't gonna get it.
That's not going to get it.
Yeah.
Because you're blowing a day of travel there and back. So
yeah.
I really think that we're going to need probably 12 calendar days.
Yeah.
If not 14 calendar days.
Here's what I think is a good rule of thumb, is that it takes 1 week to accomplish 2 states, and it's roughly $1,000 a turkey, give or take, just depending on where you go and what you do.
Yep.
Right.
That's what I'm seeing is a fairly consistent pattern.
Mm-hmm.
That's about right. And we can probably, I don't know, by the time you factor in travel and meals and lodging and everything else, that's probably still a pretty accurate number. I was going to say we could probably do this a little bit cheaper if we hunt public land.
Yeah.
But, and there is no shortage of public land. The places that I've been looking at and making phone calls on are 1 million to 2 million acres of national forest land.
And for those, if we do that, you don't have to apply for those tags. Can't you just buy those over the counter?
No, you still have to apply for tags.
Right.
And
I got one more point real quick. You know, like we went to South Dakota, North Dakota, and Montana, and we were able to accomplish 3 states, but we were real fortunate with the weather, and we got lucky some.
What?
You know?
That was all skill, dude.
Yeah, but I'm saying that to knock out 3 states like we did is not gonna happen every year. I don't think.
No. Even if it's Merriam's, it's not going to happen every year.
Right. I mean,
should we shoot for 2 with the possibility of 3?
That's kind of what I would lean toward is the same setup we did up there. We went to hunt North and South Dakota. If we got those knocked out, we can try to go get on some public land somewhere just for icing on the cake. But I think 2 states in 7 or 8 days and that's a trip.
Yeah.
What do y'all think?
You have to think too, these trips that we go on, we go pretty hard.
Real hard.
And 2 weeks is a lot of time off work, and that's a lot of time away from the family, but that's a lot of time up and down mountains.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're not talking Oak Mountain. I mean, we're talking mountains.
It used to be either.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Well, my vote pretty much is let's line 2 good situations up, and then have a third one in the kind of in our back pocket where if it just so happened we could run over there and try, you know.
Mhm.
I mean, on some public land where we don't have to really commit to anything.
Do we do guided, like get an outfitter for those 2 states, or do we go all public?
That's up to the research that would find out what we need to do.
Should be one outfitter, 1 public.
There are a lot of turkeys on the public land in those states. I think there's plenty of opportunities to kill some birds on public land.
Mm-hmm.
When I have spoken with the wild turkey biologist for the state of New Mexico, and I've talked with a guy that's the turkey biologist for one of the regional offices in Arizona. He gave me a unit to apply for. And he said, if you apply for this unit, I would apply for the early hunt as your first choice, and then the second week of the season as your second choice. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. And he said that they're going to be giving an extra 100 permits for that unit this year. And he said, I think that you stand a very good chance of drawing if you apply for that unit, even though you're an out-of-state hunter. He said our average success rate in that unit is 30%.
Ooh, that don't sound real good.
Hey, I did get my shotgun fixed.
Well, then I'm going to put you at a 30% chance of being able to kill one.
Yeah. All right, you being serious? He said 30%?
He said 30%. So here's the deal.
Yeah.
He told me, he said, I had 2 boys from Georgia come up here last year who were trying to do the same thing that you're doing, and they called me and got some information here, and he said they came in here and killed 1 the first day and 1 the next morning, and they were done.
Yep.
And he says, I don't know if that was just a freak deal on their part or if they just got it figured out early. So I'm not going to say we're experts on hunting Merriams.
Right.
But I think the key is if you can figure out where the birds are, I think you stand a pretty dang good chance of killing them.
Yeah. Yep.
Even though they've got a 30% success rate.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing that I know about Merriams is early in the season, they're flocked up really bad.
Yep.
And, just think about trying to call in a flock of 25 or 30 turkeys or 50 turkeys. I mean, that's difficult.
The Merriams don't have that being henned up is completely different with Merriams as opposed to in Alabama where when they're henned up, you can't find them because they don't even make any noise.
Right.
When a henned up Merriams is gobbling his rear end off all day long.
Yeah. Yeah, you just may not have any luck calling him in.
Yeah,
but he's going to let you know where he is.
Yeah, you know where he is. Yeah.
And so I guess at that point in time, if you're not sitting in a blind for 8 or 10 hours, you probably stand a pretty good chance of using the terrain to your advantage and getting in a position where you're going to wait on them to come by you.
No doubt.
So I mean, I feel like we could do some good on public land, but, if we go out there and hunt public land and none of us kill birds, that's not going to do us any good. One of those Indian reservations in Arizona has guided hunts only, and they sell a limited number of hunts. The problem is it's like $2,200 a bird.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Where is that?
That'd be the most
in Arizona?
Yeah.
Well, what if we're going to do 2 states? Which 2 are we looking at?
Well, the thing is about all 4 of these states is that the public land that has turkeys on it is pretty close to the 4 corners. So you're not going to have to do a lot of traveling around to get birds in those states. Now, the 4 corners is actually pretty barren, but if you took a circle around the 4 corners, is mountainous around there, and there's trees, and that's where the turkeys are. So, there's going to be a little bit of driving, but it's not like we're going to go from the northwest corner of Utah down to the southeast corner of New Mexico.
Yeah.
So, that'll help. But the other part of this is we're going to be hunting in pairs, and we would really be better off having 2 rental cars.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, if 2 guys tag out, they can load up and go on to the other state and start
that's
scouting
no
and
problem,
hunting.
man. Yeah, 2 rental cars is what we're going to need to have, no matter what.
Yeah. And whereas if we go and we hunt with outfitters, we're going to end up, we'd be okay with 1 rental car, but it's going to have to be a giant one for all of us and our bags and guns and everything else. So I think the outfitter situation in Arizona is going to be a little bit more difficult because so much of that area that has turkeys is public land.
Mm-hmm.
New Mexico, I'd have to dig a little bit more. I think up in the northwestern part of the state, right on the Colorado border, there are outfitters up there that can handle New Mexico for us. There's even one.
What is? Do you have to apply for a tag in all of those states?
All 4 of them.
Okay.
And that's part of the other thing too. That may be the deciding factor on which states we end up in.
That's what I'm kind of getting at.
Can you apply together?
Should we?
Yeah.
So should we just apply to all of them and see which ones we get tagged?
Well, the answer to that question is probably yes. If we draw in Arizona, I say we need to hit Arizona.
Okay.
Because the chances of getting drawn again in Arizona are probably not real good.
Okay.
For a little while anyway. It may take us 2 or 3 years of applying to draw again.
Yeah.
So
is that the hardest state we think to draw in?
I think it's going to be the hardest one to draw in, yeah.
Because they have a limited amount of turkeys, or limited. They have turkeys, but in a limited geographical area.
Limited geographical area, but they're very strict on the number of permits that they give out. If you look at their unit map, they have, the seasons are similar, but they have different seasons for different units. They have a different number of tags for each unit, and they look at those every single year. So they're really managing the resource, which is good.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a little tricky.
What will it cost us to apply for a tag?
I don't think it was much. I don't believe, was it, Andy?
All of these tags are going to run anywhere between $100 and $200. I think that let me pull my notes from that, and I've updated the Google Docs form that I shared with you guys for pretty much all of these.
Yeah.
All right, Arizona is going to be $265. New Mexico is $104. Colorado is $104, and Utah is one I haven't written a price down on yet.
All right.
So,
well, if you apply for them, if you get one, do you have to buy it? If you draw, your money's spent.
Yeah. If you don't draw, you get your money back.
Exactly.
Okay. So if we applied for all 4 and got all 4, we'd have to pay for all 4 of them.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
but you
maybe
think about
what we
that,
should...
but Chip, you can think about it. The 2 of them he just said were just $104. So
yeah.
I mean, you would just have to. The 265 one would be a hard pill to swallow, but 104 would be easier to swallow than 265.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that, Colorado does have over-the-counter tags.
So it would just be 3.
What we could do would be to draw for maybe Arizona and Utah. And then if we don't draw in Arizona, then we hunt Utah and Colorado.
Mhm. All right.
And then maybe we can throw in New Mexico if we happen to tag out in Colorado and Utah.
All right.
Or if we draw in Arizona, we hunt Arizona and New Mexico, Arizona and Utah, and we go over to Colorado because those are over the counter.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess the good news about that is we could still hit Utah and Nevada on another trip if we were able to do that.
Mhm.
Because turkeys in California are in the northern part of the state. Geographically, that may be the thing to do is apply for Arizona. I'm going to write this down. See, I'll make sure I say it right again. We apply for Arizona, and we apply for Utah.
Okay.
Yeah, see, I didn't say that right, did I?
Nope.
And if we don't, because that would leave us with New Mexico, and it's stuck right out there by itself. So that would be, geographically, that would mess us up. So maybe we apply for Arizona and New Mexico.
Yep.
And if we don't draw Arizona, we hunt New Mexico and Colorado.
Everybody I've ever heard of that goes to New Mexico gets a turkey.
Yeah, I could be floored. We might get there and have 7 days of snow and 50-mile-an-hour winds, but I think that when we get over there, I think that it's not going to be like hunting Alabama birds.
We can still see them. We'll have a chance to kill them.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very similar to North Dakota, South Dakota.
All right, so we're going to apply for Arizona, New Mexico.
Yep.
If don't draw Arizona, then we'll buy over-the-counter tag in Colorado.
Okay.
So, and if we do draw Arizona and we kill in Arizona and New Mexico pretty quick, then we go north to Colorado.
That'll give us our third, just whatever you call it.
The wild card state.
Wild card, yeah. Yeah. I like it. I like that.
All right, so if we kill in Arizona and New Mexico, then we go to Colorado for an OTC tag.
Yep.
Okay.
When do we apply?
All right, so application dates in Arizona.
Should have them all.
10/11. 10/11/16 is a tag application deadline.
For Arizona.
For Arizona. And that is going to cost us $265.
Okay.
Up front?
Yep. And then...
We can do it as a group, right?
Yep. Got to do it as a group. And then we apply for a tag by February the 10th in New Mexico.
So if we get Arizona or we don't get it, when do they let you know?
Yeah, that's a good point, Chip, because we'll know in December.
Yeah.
Let me pull that back up because we can use that to help make our decision from there. Let's see. Arizona. Their turkey regulations are only 32 pages long.
That's it?
Yeah. They tell you when you can call to them and when you can't call to them. They tell you when you can crawl. Yeah.
All right, let's see.
It sounded like to try to get a tag for Arizona, and then we can build the trip from that.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing to do. All right, he told me. All right, I'm looking up.
When do you apply for a tag in Utah if we decided Utah was one that we wanted to attempt?
I haven't done all my research on Utah yet. So the other thing that we have to look at, though, are the season dates. And the season dates, we'd have to hunt New Mexico first because their season goes out on 5/10.
Mhm.
And then we would have to go to Arizona. Their season will go out 5/19.
Okay.
So we're still looking
Roughly.
May. We're looking May.
Unless y'all want to try late April, it's up to y'all.
Well, either one works. The last week of April or the second week of May.
Yeah, I would think so. Hold on, let me look.
But that during May, that first week of May, has got conflicts at my house.
Yeah, all right.
When in your market stuff,
22nd through the 26th, so it's going to have to be the second.
Okay.
Second week in May.
I like that second week of May because we got a better chance of the weather anyhow. You know.
Mother's Day is May 14th.
Dang, we might actually make Mother's Day this year. No, we'll be gone.
Always.
We know it.
Jeez Louise.
Speaking of Louise,
yeah.
One of these days, Wheezy's not going to be in the house. Chip's going to be able to go anytime in May. But that's going to be a long time from now.
Well, I mean, really, I'll go the first or second week of May because neither one of them, both of them, have conflicts in my house.
Well, do you get more grief if you miss a birthday or Mother's Day?
Birthday.
The birthday.
Yeah, I would imagine.
But we just need to plan the darn trip, and we're just going to do it.
Well, I mean, I would. We could get away missing Mother's Day more than we could get away missing week's birthday.
I do. But
there's no reason. If we're going to cause contention, let's cause it with the wives and not the children.
Yeah. But like coaching, if you're making everybody happy, you're not doing a very good job.
I will not tell Libby you said that.
Hey, I'm looking at a map, Andy.
Yeah.
There's no good place to fly into that's close to anything.
Oh, sure there is.
Albuquerque is in the middle of the state. Phoenix is in the bottom third. And you know where Denver is. And we're not flying in Las Vegas because Chip would never leave.
Yeah, Albuquerque would be the place to fly in. Now, that's another thing to think about. We're going to be renting 2 cars in one state and returning them in another one.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't we just fly back out of Albuquerque? That's going to be, I'm telling you, that's going to be the closest. I mean, maybe somebody flies into Flagstaff.
Somebody flies into Flagstaff, I'll promise you that.
Right.
Whether we want to pay that amount or not is a different story.
Mm-hmm.
And Delta does not. What's another airline? Come on.
You need to be looking at Southwest.
Southwest does not. I was on that one earlier.
Yeah, they fly into Albuquerque and Phoenix.
They do both those, but yes, they don't fly into Flagstaff.
So really, the first step in this process is to apply for a tag to Arizona by October?
Yeah, 10/11.
So should we go ahead and apply?
Yes.
I don't see any reason not to.
Right.
We apply.
What we need to do is everybody needs to ante up their $240.
$65.
$265. All right. So how are we going to do that?
It don't matter.
Well, I think we can apply as a group, but we don't necessarily have to pay as a group.
Right.
If Arizona's like most other states where we've done group applications before, then what we would do is apply. One of us will apply and get a group number, and then the rest of us would just have to enter that group number on the application.
Yeah,
when we submit our individual applications.
Once we would say if Andy did it, and then once we said we were drawn, then you probably have 10 or 14 days to pay it, or you might have whatever. You might have 30 days to pay it.
So we don't have to actually get all the money together and pay up front.
I'm sorry, I said that incorrectly. Andy would apply for the group, and then we would just log in and pay for it at the same time. Right, Andy?
No, we don't have to pay at the same time. I would apply. If I was the first one to apply, I would apply. I'd pay my money. I'd get a group application or a group number,
and we would.
I'd give you the group number. You would apply and pay. I'd give it to Chip. He would apply and pay. John would apply and pay.
We had to do it by 11. Or, 10-11.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, I'm ready to move forward with it. Are y'all?
I'm fine with it.
Oh yeah.
All right.
So we're gonna apply. We're gonna go Arizona, New Mexico. Is that what we decided?
Arizona, New Mexico.
Well, we do Arizona,
but right,
and that would.
Yeah. I mean, right this minute, all we're going to do is Arizona on applying for a tag, and then depending on how that draw goes, we'll decide what we're doing next. Is that right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I pulled up their paper application, and it has on here applicant A, applicant B, applicant C, applicant D on the same application.
Okay.
So let me do a little bit more research on applying, and I'm going to call the state as well because I like to have somebody tell me what to do.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is, it's not really 32 pages, but it's got to be 8 pages of, of you can do this and you can't do that, and if you do that this way, then you have to do it this way, and blah, 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 blah. So,
well, I mean, if you're willing to get the application process started, I'm on board and I'm ready to pay what I need to pay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
All right.
And I mean, that's a real good step in the right direction. Is go ahead and get it ready, get applied, and let's see what happens in October. And and we can, because if we get those tags, then everybody's going to start doing some research. Well, right now, Colorado's our wild card.
Yeah.
Arizona is what we're after.
Right. And that will determine which direction we go from there.
And that's what I think. But somebody which I'm hoping is handy is going to find out how we apply and who we get our money to when, and we'll go from there.
So I hope that call was useful in learning what goes into planning a trip out of state. And during that conversation, what Chip mentioned about a good rule of thumb being $1,000 per state that we hunt turkeys in is pretty close to accurate. If you hunt with an outfitter, I believe you can plan on spending a little bit more than that. If you're going to hunt public land, I believe you can spend a little bit less than that. But it's a good, nice, round average number of dollars by the time you count lodging, meals, licenses, fuel if you're driving, or airfare if you're flying, and spending money. Now, unless you're going to drive to where you'll hunt and camp in a campground or stay with a friend or family member, then $1,000 is a pretty good, safe number to use in your planning. With that said, as you heard on the call, we don't want to sink $4,000 into hunting 4 states next spring. But more importantly, we can't spare the 12 to 14 days off of work and away from the family. Chip and Brian have fairly young kids, and it puts a pretty unnecessary burden on their wives to have to shoulder that responsibility alone for 2 solid weeks. Now, could they do it? Yes. Would their wives let them do it? Yeah. Is it smart for them to do it? Nope. Okay, enough about the call with the boys. Well, 2/3 of the boys anyway. John was mysteriously MIA. So, this past week I also got the opportunity to speak with a couple of wildlife biologists in Arizona and New Mexico to try to determine which of these game management units we need to consider for our hunts. At least in Arizona and New Mexico, you have to apply for tags and permits for specific game management units. So before we could plan too much more of this trip, we needed to know if we were on the right track with our applications and were selecting areas that actually had good populations of turkeys. Now, I recorded those calls with the biologists, but the audio is so poor on them that I'm not going to play those calls for you in this episode. But basically, what I wanted to find out, and did find out, is a few areas where the populations were high, where hunter success rates were highest, and where they've had good recruitment of poults over the past 2 to 3 years. Remember, those poults from 2 to 3 years ago are the birds that we want to hunt next year. I also want to know what the hunting pressure is like in those areas as well. So I actually found out that one of the areas we were pointed to in Arizona will issue 700 tags this season. Now, that's 700 tags to hunt turkeys over an area that probably covers a couple of hundred square miles. And not all of that area is going to have turkeys on it, but you get where I'm going with this. I don't feel like this particular GMU will be as pressured as, say, the Talladega National Forest in Alabama is, and that national forest is an hour outside of the city of Birmingham. Now, I did also learn that the success rate in that particular GMU is about 30%. That's not very high. But what I don't know is, are the hunters that are getting those tags and coming into that area to hunt going to hunt as hard as we're going to hunt? Or are they fair weather casual hunters who are not going to climb up 1,000 foot of elevation in order to get to a gobbling turkey? And we will do that in a heartbeat. So I'm not saying that we're better hunters. What I'm saying is that we will work harder, and I have a feeling that we can probably have pretty good success hunting in these areas. I may regret saying that, especially on this show later, but I've said it. So now we know which states we're going to be applying for tags in, which game management units we will be applying for tags and permits in, and we know about what time of year we want to go. So we're making some headway in planning this trip, and now it's time for us to apply for tags and keep our fingers crossed that we draw. I will be bringing you more information about our planning of this trip in future episodes, but for right now, we've done what we can do. There's really no reason to do much more planning until we know that we've drawn tags. So that's all that I have for you guys today. But before I let you go, I have one favor to ask of you again this week. If you would, please tell a turkey hunting buddy or two about the show. I would very much appreciate that. It does just like social media, and it does a lot of good to spread the word about the show and to grow our listenership. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. I know that you have choices. I appreciate you spending your time with us. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Go USA. Goodbye. Thanks for tuning in. You were just listening to the Turkey Hunter podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please go on over to iTunes and leave a 5-star review. And make sure to head over to www.iamturkeyhunting.com to subscribe for free turkey hunting tips, tactics, strategies, and product reviews to help you have a more successful turkey season. And stay tuned for upcoming episodes on hunting afternoon birds, how to film your hunt, and the breeding cycle of hens, as well as some guest interviews. Thanks again for listening. We know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you sharing some of it with us. See you next week.